17 years ago, I co-founded an education website called ePals with a colleague, John Irving. And it was the early days of the internet and the dawn of digital learning. And so with a small group of former teachers and web developers and designers, there they are. Old photo, but it was the days of 3-megapixel cameras. We embarked on quite a unique project to change learning and connect classrooms worldwide. We created one of the first social networks on the web, but it was unique in that it was for teachers and students in primary, secondary schools worldwide to connect with each other, and really it was a social learning network. It grew and evolved and actually reached 25 million teachers and students in 200 countries and territories. And you could do a variety of things from the website. You could find classrooms by geography in the world, participate in digital literacy projects, science projects, history projects. And this is what a profile looks like. This is one from China that was created. And you can see they're looking for classrooms to practice English in the US, Canada, all across the world. This is actually one of our Chinese classrooms. We were the first email provider to actually embed language translation capability right into an email browser. That had never been done before. Did this years and years before Google and Yahoo. We're very proud of that. We actually got the site translated into 11 languages, including Arabic. So the essence of this resource was that classrooms could connect cross-culturally for language practice, to share history, geography projects, shared writing assignments, reading books together virtually, internationally, with teachers supervising, and actually e-mentoring with Smithsonian scientists and volunteers. We actually did one of the first on-the-ground classroom to NASA International Space Station projects where the kids were asking astronauts and scientists questions, and even followed a Mount Everest climber up. This classroom in the US was connected with this one in Europe. And when the French classroom shared its photo, 30 emails in French and English resulted just from this photo being shared internationally. The French teacher said it was one of the most dramatic projects they'd ever done. She'd been teaching a while and said that she hardly uses the textbook now because the live connection is so powerful. What teachers started to tell us was that the writing was increasing, the quality of the work the students were doing was better. They were spell checking to death because they cared more about what they were sending their peers 5,000 miles away than even the work they were doing for their teachers. And the cross-disciplinary elements were amazing. A history class would connect with a classroom in Asia, but within several months, that history class was learning Chinese. This classroom in China, here on the left, is connected with this one in California, and they share a variety of things. When you combine community, content, and collaboration virtually, very powerful learning experiences occur. I've been very lucky. I've traveled the globe. This is a classroom in Kenya that I visited, and they had an internet connection, a very good internet connection. And they have a brand new media lab with 30 workstations. They make global connections. They use smart boards. They create project galleries and share them with classrooms worldwide. And there's always something reciprocal. No classroom has more knowledge to give than another. That's what we found by these virtual classroom connections. But in all my travels and everything I've seen, and I've been in over 800 classrooms worldwide, probably spoken to 7,000 educators, administrators, Ministry of Education officials. For 17 years, I felt that there's always been a disconnect between education and industry. In 2003, the Bureau of Economics released this ranking of industries and their use of information technology and productivity. And look where education falls. 57 industries ranked, and education falls dead last. Now, this was 10 years ago. 10 years later, we have high unemployment, but we have 1.2 million IT jobs that are emerging that we can't fill. Not enough qualified people. There are 120,000 IT jobs opening a year, but we're only graduating 40,000 students. And the salaries are actually incredible for these graduates. 80% of jobs in the next decade will require technology skills. We're in a generation right now where I believe parents and teachers are probably the most disconnected from their kids on learning than any other time in history. And I think it's due to technology. And IT is not the only field. Nursing's number one in terms of shortages. If this study is true, that we might be short 20 million U.S. jobs over the next decade, we don't have a job shortage. We have a skills shortage. And in the time of developing Common Core standards and standardization all over the world, is industry working with education? And I haven't found this to be true. We need a national priority to teach and test to the 21st century, to the modern day, and mirror what innovations taking place at the home and in the workplace, in schools. And we need the input from industry. No longer is it about the curriculum and content only. It's about how the kids will apply what they've learned. And they are super high-tech, multitasking, multimedia, networked 21st century individuals still working in a 100-year-old curriculum environment. Why wouldn't we ask 1,000 small, medium, and large companies in industries what job requirements are emerging? What job positions will it be in 5, 10 years? Identify these things, even geographically, and correlate them to corresponding K-12 and higher ed studies. Create relevance. If you're studying plant photosynthesis, relate it to solar energy panels. Now, it's not all bad, and some might find this interesting that the Minister of Education in China, while happy about Chinese test scores, was very concerned about creativity and innovation in Chinese schools. And so while we get a little knocked on our test scores, what we do rank very high in is student confidence and risk-taking competencies. And that counts for a lot. Many low-test scoring countries are very high in the innovation and productivity scale. And risk-taking and being inquisitive, exploring ideas, individual diversity and passion contribute to being entrepreneurs, creating new products and services. We take a lot for granted. I'm in a lot of schools. I see work on the hallways, in classrooms on the walls. I see design that's showcased. You don't see that in a lot of Asian schools. We ask the kids to think freely, to collaborate, dialogue, discuss, disagree. And when classroom teachers, and this one in New York, storyboarding with the kids, something that's kind of hard to do in video production with first and second graders, but taking something they like super action heroes, and doing video and storyboarding and teaching them structure to their work. These are fantastic examples worldwide. Portledge School in New York. This is an amazing school, a comprehensive inquiry-based approach to learning where the kids are taught by doing. They're very hands-on. They visit science labs. The curriculums align with what the kids like to do. They find out what the kids' passion is, and they find careers and ideas that the kids can participate in. It's an international school, too. They've got 25 Chinese students studying there. And routinely, the Chinese ministry will send delegations into the U.S., even to this school, and ask the teachers about how they teach. They'll talk to the kids, what they like about learning, and they'll look at the ecosystem that they're learning in. And they do the technology that's incorporated into the learning process. I thought this was interesting that one of the Chinese delegates was taking a lot of photos of the artwork on the hallways and on the walls of the classrooms. And when they came across this, the fifth graders had played a mock stock market game. They were just fascinated that the kids were participating in a project like this, and that classroom teachers would take their students outside to sit on a lawn and have a discussion. This principal in Connecticut saying something pretty bold here. You can tell he's obviously not a standardized test fan. He started at this school 6 years ago. 4 years ago, he began an intense professional development and training with his teachers on differentiated instruction and inquiry-based learning. The students are not drilled. They are not test prepped. I mean, minimal test prep. They spend a couple of days on test prep while others spend weeks. If you walk through the halls, you'll see kids problem solving in teams. They have mentors help, some from Sikorsky Aircraft. The kids participate in competitions. They travel. He's redesigning the 21st century classroom, incorporating one-to-one now. 4 years later, they are now consistently top academic high school in Connecticut and frequently first on the state assessments. P-Tech High School in New York, actually it's a grade 9 through 14 school. Core subjects are taught, but when you leave there, you have an associate degree and a degree in education. These are great examples of workplace coming into the school environment. Blue Valley School District in Overland Park, Kansas. This is amazing. This is a high school professional studies education program. The school system's in partnership with 74 business partners, including Sprint, Cisco, Bayer, university mentors. And they have different study strands, like aerospace, business technology and media, human services, bioscience, engineering strands. Can you imagine your kids with mentors in all of these areas where they'd be able to spend 2.5 hours a day working alongside business professionals? I'm a big believer in interactive learning versus passive, right? And we've got some great examples now on things like learning games and how they're impacting the learning outcome. Pilots cannot fly commercially unless they go through flight simulation training. Flight simulation is another word for digital learning game. Stanford University recently released some amazing brain scans. The brain on the left side here, these brains are playing a game, a digital game. And look how lit up they are. What they're finding now is that playing a game, a digital game, enhances the brain regions that are associated with reward and motivation. The brain on the right side here is a brain watching someone playing a digital game. So what we know now is that if you're interacting with a digital game, you have massive brain activity going in the regions that motivate you to try. So what I think we need to do, worldwide, not just in our education system, is to engage kids and expose them to workplace careers, all the fields that they could go into, and there's so many. Exposure to global models, inquiry-based learning. Let them collaborate. Let them own their learning. Give them the collaboration tools that they're native to right now, and even teach or enhance managing ideas and risk-taking. That's something we're actually really good at. We do really well when we fail. We come back. Infuse technology. We're doing that now, which is great. But bring in simulations, learning games, collaborative tools. And if there were one thing that I would strongly suggest, I'm very passionate about, is let's get education and industry working in partnership. And a message to students. And my dad gave me this advice too. Get some workplace experience. You're crazy not to, try to get yourself into an environment, maybe an office or with a business professional that is in a field that you have an interest in. They'll always give you an opportunity. Get that job. Get a summer job. And speaking of jobs,
no, I've actually always found something to be very true, which is most people don't get those experiences because they never ask. I've never found anybody that didn't want to help me if I asked them for help. I always call them up. I called up, this will date me, but I called up Bill Hewlett when I was 12 years old, and he lived in Palo Alto. His number was still in the phone book. And he answered the phone himself. He said, yes? He said, hi, I'm Steve Jobs. I'm 12 years old. I'm a student in high school, and I want to build a frequency counter. And I was wondering if you had any spare parts I could have. And he laughed, and he gave me the spare parts to build this frequency counter, and he gave me a job that summer in Hewlett-Packard, working on the assembly line, putting nuts and bolts together on frequency counters. He got me a job in the place that built them. And I was in heaven. And I've never found anyone who said no or hung up the phone when I called. I just asked. And when people ask me, I try to be as responsive, to pay that debt of gratitude back. Most people never pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask. And that's what separates sometimes the people that do things from the people that just dream about them. You gotta act. And you've got to be willing to fail. You've got to be willing to crash and burn, with people on the phone, with starting a company, with whatever. If you're afraid of failing, you won't get very far.
It's great that students can see something like that. A great entrepreneur sharing his passion and how he innovated. But the real lesson here, the great gift of legacy, was what Bill Hewlett did for Steve Jobs in giving him work experience. And in our country, with such great industry and entrepreneurial talent, wouldn't it be great if industry shared that with education? And wouldn't it be terrific if education led it? Thank you.